Amelia had always dreamed of escaping the constant hum of city life, the noise of her crowded apartment in New York, and the routine that no longer felt like hers. Tucson, Arizona, was where she had decided to take a step toward reinventing herself. The dry heat, the deep blue skies, and the stark beauty of the desert felt like a canvas, ready to be painted with a new story, a new rhythm. Her mother, who had grown up in Tucson, often spoke about the desert in a poetic way that left a lasting imprint on Amelia. "The desert teaches you patience," she'd say. "It makes you stop and listen to the silence." Amelia needed silence. She needed time to figure out who she really was. It was mid-September when she arrived. The heat in the desert was different from the suffocating humidity of the East Coast. It felt like an embrace. Warm and deep. And for the first time in a long time, Amelia breathed freely. She found a small studio apartment nestled against the base of the Catalina Mountains, with nothing but the wide, open desert surrounding her. As she unpacked, she could feel a kind of peace settling inside her. Days passed in a blur of exploration. She wandered through the local farmers markets, the vibrant streets of downtown Tucson, and the sprawling desert trails. But it was the Tucson Dance Academy that caught her attention. A flyer on the bulletin board at the local coffee shop caught her eye: salsa night, every Friday at 7 p.m. Amelia had never danced salsa before, but something about the idea of dancing in the heart of the desert, under the stars, intrigued her. She went on a whim. The night was warm, the air dry with the scent of sagebrush. The academy was an old adobe building with terracotta floors and thick wooden beams that made it feel like it had been part of the desert for centuries. Inside, the atmosphere was buzzing with energy. Latin rhythms filled the room, and people moved together with a fluidity that Amelia could only dream of. She felt out of place at first, unsure of what to do, but then she saw him. David was a native of Tucson, a man whose roots were as deep in the desert as the saguaro cacti that dotted the landscape. He was tall, with dark hair and a warm smile that lit up his face as he guided his dance partners with a kind but confident hand. David had grown up here, dancing through the streets of Tucson as a child, learning from his grandmother, who had been a flamenco dancer. Dance was in his blood. Their first dance was an accident. Amelia was standing on the sidelines, a little nervous, when David approached her, extending his hand with an inviting smile. "I can teach you if you'd like," he said, his voice warm and easy. She hesitated, but then placed her hand in his. The moment their hands touched, there was a spark of electricity that ran from her fingertips to her heart. The music played, and David led her through the basic steps. She stumbled at first, unsure of the rhythm, but he was patient, guiding her through every misstep with a gentle laugh and a steady hand. There was something about the desert night, the stars above, and the music that made everything else fade away. They moved as one, connected by the rhythm of the music, the warmth of the air, and something unspoken that passed between them. As weeks went by, Amelia returned to salsa night, learning more with each lesson, and their connection deepened. David showed her the landscape of Tucson not just through dance, but through stories. He took her on hikes through the desert, showing her the ancient rock formations, the hidden waterfalls, and the breathtaking sunsets that painted the sky in hues of orange and purple. He taught her the names of the plants that grew around them, the creosote, the palo verde, the ocotillo, and the folklore of the desert, tales that had been passed down through generations. Amelia, in turn, shared her own stories from New York, the noise of the subways, the lights of Times Square, the feel of the city that never sleeps. One evening, as they danced under the stars, the night took on a new significance. The desert, once so vast and empty, now felt like home, like a place where two people could truly find each other. David pulled her close, his hand resting on the small of her back. The music slowed, the beats softening, as if the desert itself was breathing with them. In that moment, Amelia realized that she wasn't just falling in love with the desert. She was falling in love with David, with the way he had taught her to see the world through new eyes. The weeks turned into months, and soon, Amelia found herself thinking less about the life she had left behind in New York. She thought about the quiet mornings, the sunrises over them, dessert, The feeling of David's arms around her as they danced together, and the way he would whisper in her ear that the desert, like love, was patient. It waited for you to find it, and when you did, it gave you everything you needed. By the end of the year, Amelia knew that she had found something rare, something that not only made her feel alive, but also gave her the space to grow. David and the desert had shown her a rhythm that was both grounding and liberating, a dance she never thought she could do, but one she couldn't live without now. As they stood together one last time on the dance floor, surrounded by friends in the endless desert sky, David whispered, "The desert teaches you patience, Amelia. But it also teaches you to never stop dancing." And with that, she knew her love story with Tucson, with David, and with the desert was only just beginning.